I learned in the first class is that there were three main ways to measure the wealth of the countries. The first one was based on the agriculture of the countries, the second one based on the land they had, and the current one is based on the knowledge. What is economic knowledge? Economic knowledge can refer to the economy that shown growth based on the use of information, knowledge, and technology. Today, we can say we have a global economy, sorry, that's caused by the globalization. And what is globalization? Globalization refers to a more interdependent economy among the countries, and it's important to mention that this is conductors of globalization to help to fall the barriers of the barriers to flow to the goods flow and the technology on the communication. That's what I learned in the first class. Thank you. What I learned in the overview of the global economy and development of international trade of goods and service class is that there are something called global trends. A trend is what is popular at a certain point in time or something that causes an impact in the world. It could be events like social, political, conflicts, etc. We discussed the importance of the social networks and how they impact in the commercial, social, cultural, and political. International trade. We talk about the specialization of a country, region that could be its natural resource, skills, or capital. We learn that the innovator becomes the importer of the product. The ability of companies to achieve economics of scale is the key to their success, and is important to a strategy as we can see in the Michael Porter Diamond, in which he considered the factor condition, demand conditions, affirming strategy, etc. What I learned at the debate is that globalization made possible the world as we know in these days, but it's important to support the international products, the ideas, and the people of my country, which is Mexico. Thank you for your attention. What we were talking with Mr. Casale was about the international trade and the foreign investment. He asked us what takes us to the global competition and how it benefits our economy. The global competition made the companies to find a way to grow and to compete in the international market, having as a result a lot of innovation and expansion of the company. In consequence, a lot of money and a better life for the citizens. I learned too that a local government have opened in favor of the foreign investment, helping the increase of the exportation and importation. We talked about the trade agreements among the nations and he explained us why the European Union is the most and the biggest important commercial bloc. One characteristic of this bloc is that they aren't watching its border and they aren't asking for a lot of documentation for it to cross the border. He shows us a study in where the results demonstrate the developed economies are the ones that export more services than products, and in the development economies is in the opposite way. We mentioned too that the balance between the importation and exportation, more exportation than importation means a superávit, and more importation than exportation means a deficit. That's the principal things I learned in the last session. Thank you. All the companies want to become multinational for some different reasons, like achieve economic of the scales, conquer new markets, more profit, etc., etc. But how to become a multinational? Well, there is something called international strategy. That is and how the companies make decisions on how to operate in the international market. The goal here is to achieve some unique and valuable position known as competitive advantage. There is a process to create an international strategy, and summarizing it, we can say that the senior management have to take a more strategic role in the decision making, move from a forecast exercise to a creative exercise, more action than proposals, and there is something important to name it or call it benchmarking, that is learning from the best. The multinationals in the global economy, the point here is the value creation. That is the way of the companies to create or generate profit. There are three main international strategies. The first one is the global strategy that sacrifices the local requirements for a global market or efficiency. The second one is the multi-domestic strategy that is the opposite of the global, the multi-domestic focus in the local requirements, and the transnational. The third one is the transnational that seeks a middle point between the first two one, and that is what I learned from the last class. Thank you. Discussed the last session with Mr. Casale was about the entry forms in a foreign market. He told us that there are two big considerations you must take when trying to enter in a foreign market. The first one is the which foreign market, of course, and when and which scale. It is important to consider to the political, economical, resources situation of the country in where is the market you want to enter. The second one is which entry form to select. The market selection. The market you choose must have a balance between benefits, costs, and risk. The second one is the entry time. For example, if you want to sell a product that is seasonal, you must check the best season to enter in that market and to try to sell your product or etc etc. The entry scale it depends too on the product you want to sell and that kind of stuff. The entry forms there are the first one is the franchising. The franchising that is the most famous or the that is here in our cities, and the joint venture that is not recommend the best one but function too. The export is the we want to try or we want to make with this course. The subsidiary and the licensing and purchase. The licensing is only the brand or the permission to use a certain name of a company, and the purchase is like a big company buys or purchases an already existing company in that market. That is the most thing I remember of that class. Thank you.
Ethics in international business. A definition of ethics can be the accepted principle about the right and wrong that govern the conduct of a person, the members of a profession, or the action of organization. It is a popular phrase like when in Rome, do as the Romans. Ethical problems in international business involves a wide range of difference like cultural, social, and political, etc. The ethical dilemma in the companies is based on facing those differences within the ethical limits that govern them. A definition of ethical dilemma in the economies is a situation in which commercial interests are opposed to the ethical principles of the organization. For example, it is worth paying bribes in a country where it is common practice, and is there no other way to get contracts? That's a good question. Areas of conflict. Like in deploying practices, the human rights, the environmental pollution, corruption, and moral obligation. There are some roots of unethical behavior like personal ethics, decision-making process, organizational culture, and realistic performance goals and leadership. That's all. Cultural factors. Definition of culture. Culture is a set of belief rules, techniques, institutions, and artifacts that characterizes human groups. Culture can be too learned, not innate, related among its different aspects, shared by a group, and define boundaries between different groups. Doing business with other cultures. 6 rules for doing business and culture. Be prepared, measure time, develop trust, understand the importance of language, respect the culture, understand the elements of a culture. Culture and business. What aspects of the business are the ones that have a great impact on cultural matters? It can be like marketing, human resource management, production and finance. Social cultural elements. There are the aesthetics, attitudes and belief, religion, material culture, language, social organization, education, political structure, legal characteristics, and something important too is to think about the language. It could be a lot of difference and meanings between those countries. Geographic factors. It is important the relation between geographic and international trade. There are some key aspects like proximity, topography, culture and regionalism, weather, migration, and means of transport. The proximity. International business begins with those countries that are located near, so it is easy to trade with them. Topography. There are like mountains, deserts, forests, jungles, and water bodies. Cultural regionalism. Culture and geography are two aspects deeply related, because being close develops cultural bonds. the religion, tradition, custom, attitudes. The weather. Climate should be considered as a relevant factor for international trade. Its effects could be beneficial or harmful for business. Migration. Migration has been a constant throughout human evolution. Nowadays, the search for a better place for living at the mountain calls for social groups to move towards new horizons. Means of transport. The selection of the ideal mean of transport, vessel, train, plane, land, vehicle, etc. depends on several factors like cost, time, location, geography, special requirements, etc. Economic and political factors. Economic forces. The economic factor is the most significant factor for the development of business. It is important to be interested in the level of development of a country. There are the developed economies, developing economies, newly industrialized countries, highly industrialized economies. The economic dimension. The gross domestic product, GDP, GDP per capita, informal on-the-ground economy, exchange rate, purchasing power parity, wages cost per unit. Socioeconomic dimensions. Total population, age distribution, population density and population distribution. The political factors. There are some ideologies like communism, capitalism, socialism, and government protection, terrorism, government stability, and country risk. Those are the principal political factors. Legal and financial factors. International legal forces, rule of law, international law, public sources of international law, treaties between nations, customary international law. Intellectual property, patents, trademarks, trade names, copyrights, and trade secrets. National legal forces, taxes, antitrust laws, bankruptcy, tariff quotas, and other trade obstacles, torts. Financial forces, fluctuation in the exchange rate, other financial forces, control of the exchange rate, tariff, taxes, inflation and interest rate, balance of payments.